Hello there, it's the 21st of June 2020 and here you are with Dan in Essex, UK. The main purpose of my channel is to show people how to grow their own fruit and vegetables, no matter what size garden allotment or growing space they do indeed have. So one of the things I enjoy growing the most is grapes. I think they truly are a great thing to grow and they do particularly well here in the southeast. So by UK standards we tend to get some of the warmest but also some of the driest summers in the UK. So this can pose opportunities and problems. One problem of course you can get is watering, but grapes don't mind dry weather too much because they put their roots down very deep and that's how they find their water. So there we go, and of course the long prolonged summer is great for ripening, so grapes can do very well here, and I think that you know, with things going on and that, grapes could be a good thing for more and more people to get into. In case you haven't guessed, I'm very passionate about grape growing. So the only soil that grapes won't really tolerate is soil that doesn't drain well. So if you've got this issue, you can grow them in a container, or you can enrich the soil if it's very clayey and just doesn't drain. Put some organic matter in there, a bit of leaf mould, a bit of well rotted manure or some compost from your compost bin. Buy some compost. You get the idea. Just make it drain well. If you're growing them in a pot, now plenty of drainage stone in there, make sure you've got some drainage holes in the bottom of the pot, and work up to a 60-litre pot. Okay, I made a video a few weeks ago how to grow grapes in containers and pots. I'll link that video down below, and I'll also put a load of videos on the screen at the end regarding grapes if you're interested in that. So without further ado, let's start the grapevine tour. Okay, so we'll start in here with the polytunnel. So there we go. Now this is variety Autumn Royal, okay, and you can see, if I put my hand here, look, you can see just how big these bunches of grapes are getting. So this is a Californian variety, okay, and when grown here in the UK it's recommended you grow it in a cold greenhouse. Cold meaning unheated in the winter, okay, because grapes do require a period of dormancy. But you can really see just how big the bunches of grapes are getting here, and these ones are a bit more advanced to the ones down here, simply because they're getting more sun up there. But doesn't matter, some will ripen earlier rather than later, so quite happy with that. Not going to talk about them, but I'm just going to pan the camera across the peaches at the back of the polytunnel here on this lovely Dixie Red peach tree if you're interested. So there you go, that's that one. Yeah, so Autumn Royal, if you're going to grow this in the UK, very much recommended to grow in a polytunnel or greenhouse, because Californian variety, and unsurprisingly we don't really have a Californian climate here, so they need a prolonged growing season, and the polytunnel or greenhouse can provide that. Now this is one thing, okay, now generally it's recommended if you're going to grow a grapevine in a polytunnel or a greenhouse, you have the root outside because they like cool roots, okay, but I've had it in here for the last few years, the actual root there, and it's had no problems. But the general advice would be to have the root outside the polytunnel or greenhouse. You could cut a hole in the plastic, maybe something along those lines, and train it in. But I've had no issue having it in here, and I haven't really watered it either, very few times, so it's indicative of the good roots that this vine has put out. I mean, look up there, look. Okay, so this one here, Montz Seedless. Now you can see that this is behind the Autumn Royal in the polytunnel, because although it does get warm here, this is a southwest facing wall, so it's still fence rather, so it does get quite warm here, which helps the ripening. But I'll just show you some of the bunches. There we go, just like this. Now what I'm going to start doing soon, as these bunches get bigger, I'm going to be removing some of the leaves so that the sun can hit the grapes and increase the sugar content. So it's really growing well. I took this from a cutting a few years ago from the existing vine, and it's really you know, putting out some quite impressive growth. Okay, so I'll say it again. Now grapes fruit off of canes which grow off of the previous year's growth. So if we can see it, say down here, right there you go. So this would have grown last year. You can see it's hardened off, and what they then do is put out these things called canes. There you go, see that, look. And what they do is they then fruit off of spurs that come off of the canes that have grown off the previous year's growth. So I had a question someone asked me why their vine might not be fruiting, and they said they pruned it hard. So what I'm thinking of is if you pruned off the last year's growth, and of course the vine can't put out the canes off of it because they're not there, so then you're not going to get any fruit. Okay, so you need plenty of last year's growth, the previous year's growth, so the canes can come and so you can get your fruit. Okay, so down here in this garden I'll show you some vines I planted a few weeks ago. You may remember, now this vine here, this is Muller Thurgau, and you can see that I've got it growing in between the runner beans. So there is a chance I could get some fruit off of this year, and you can see it's put out some growth. Of course the runner beans, which will be fruiting relatively, or producing rather, relatively soon hopefully. When they're gone, this vine, I'll then train it somehow up this fence panel here. Once again, this is southwest facing, so it gets quite warm. Muller Thurgau is an eating and or a wine grape. And I've got another vine here. This is variety Venus. Okay, and there we go. So that's putting out some nice growth as well. So regarding grapes, I've got a few new vines coming. I've got 3 new varieties coming. I'm not going to reveal what varieties they are right now, but going to be interesting when they come. So really going to be pushing the grape production around here in the coming years. Right, so down here these are some cuttings, okay, and this was the one I potted up a few weeks ago in that video, how to grow grapes in containers and pots. Okay, so you can grow grapes in containers, no problems at all. There's a few things you've got to consider, but if you check that video out, that'll tell you about them. I've got some more here that I need potting up, and once again, taking grapevine cuttings is very, very easy. They're a very easy thing to propagate. All you do to take a cutting from a grapevine is you wait until the dormant season, which tends to be around late November up until and including March, weather permitting, climate permitting, whatever. And when the vine is dormant, that will be sort of distinguished, if you will, when the leaves have fell off. All you do is take a bit of the previous growing season's growth, you take off about 4 buds, okay, and then so you cut it. And what you do is you put 2 buds below the ground and 2 above, and leave it, and it should leaf out. Keep it moist throughout the growing season, not in full sun. And it should proceed to leaf out, and then you should have your own little cutting of a grapevine that you can watch grow. A little bit of organisation went on today with the blueberries. You can see there, look, got them all together, going to have a lovely crop there. Yeah, so down here, look, you can see loads of my grapevine cuttings that I took have taken. It'll be very interesting to see how many I get out of all these cuttings down here. So really, really excited to see how they all do. So yeah, it's a very, very worthwhile thing in my opinion, getting into grape growing. So many different varieties out there and so exciting, and people still consider them sort of a non-standard crop to grow here in the UK, which is quite interesting really if you think about it, because they've been grown here since the Roman times. The Romans were very fond of their wine, and you know, there's quite a lot of British vineyards around now, particularly here in the southeast. So there we go, get into your grapes, peeps. If you like my work, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and as always you can check me out on Dan_Home Gardens on Instagram if indeed you're interested. I've got this set up as a little food forest in this 3 meters by 2 meters polytunnel, and you can see the higher levels with the grapes and the peaches. Mid levels are going to be the sort of sweet corn, and the lower levels are going to be the courgettes and cucumbers I've got growing, and ground level is going to be spinach and beetroot. And well, the underneath the level is the beetroot underneath the ground. So there we go. This is a grafted grapevine that I purchased. This is Montz Seedless as well. Let's set a crop there, look. So anyway, here you go. Now these are some more cuttings that I took. I put them here, not 100% knowing what I was going to do with them, so I planted them. I might dig this up at the end of the year and grow this maybe in a container, as a container grown specimen. I can't really train it up this fence because I've got the tayberry there, but there's one there I can have. And I think there's another one somewhere down here that I took. Yeah, there you go. Complete with the ball that got chucked over the fence at me a while ago, but there we go. So there we go, look at that. See you later.